Hi, I'm Marshall Holman. I've been bowling on tour since 1974. The majority of that time, I've done things pretty much on my own and kind of been a fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants kind of bowler, not really into the technical side of the game. And that worked very well for the first 15, 16, 17 years. But now with the new reactive urethane bowling balls, I need that added edge. The most important thing in today's bowling is having the right ball. Now, in order to get that right ball for me, I need a little help. So I asked Dave Smart what he feels will be the best ball in my hand for that particular condition. And that might mean drilling a new ball for a night block. You know, just because something worked in the morning, you might need something different at night. So Dave helps me out a lot. I really need an extra set of eyes to help me get the right type of reaction down the lane. The game has evolved and I've had to evolve with it. Now what I do now is I ask Dave Smart what he thinks is the right kind of ball for me to throw, whether he thinks I should go with an axis-weighted ball or a leverage-weighted ball. It's kind of like driving a car. I can still drive a car as good as I ever could, but I can't work on a car. And it's the same thing with a bowling ball. I know how to throw a bowling ball, but I'm not sure the proper way of how to weight a bowling ball or to drill a bowling ball. So Dave helps out a lot.
Hi, I'm David Ozio. I've been bowling on the Professional Bowlers Tour for 16 years. A lot of things have changed over the course of that 16 years with the manufacturers, with the companies, with the balls that have come out. About 6 years ago, Dave Smart came out on tour and started drilling balls for PBSC. And I got to know him pretty good and found out that he was a pretty likable guy, besides the fact that he was a dadgum good ball driller. And over the course of that time, he was like a information sponge. He soaked up everything that he could possibly learn about the game of bowling, about ball drilling, about techniques, and that broadened into a horizon of learning what the ball weights, the ball surfaces, all the sidelines of the game, which is what I consider to be the expert side entailed. And he got so knowledgeable at it that he began recommending to the players what they should do with their equipment on a week-in, week-out basis. He spent actually most of his time working with the players than he actually did ball drilling. There was times where he was in there from 1, 2 o'clock in the morning drilling balls. And so it was a pretty grueling job, but he handled it with the utmost grace. One certain instance that sticks out in my mind was just recently at a tournament this winter where I got into a situation where I just got totally lost and didn't know what to do, and he came up and he said, you need to try this right now because that's what the rest of the players are doing. And they were covering a lot of boards on the lane, so that's what I did. I moved in, used some of my ability that God's given me, and started circling the ball, and lo and behold, made the TV show. All the players on Team Columbia look for him, look up to him, and really take his decisions in stride in order to help them to be the players that they're qualified to be out here. A lot of us already know what to do with our equipment out there, but there's times when we just don't make the proper decisions, and he comes up and says, listen, this is going to work. I believe it in my heart. And I think that's the one thing that I like the most about him is the fact that he tells you straight from the heart. He's not going to baloney you. He's not going to tell you a side story. He's going to tell you exactly what he knows and what he means. And I trust that. And I think that's what is the bottom line to being a true professional, is not being so narrow-minded that you know the most or you're the greatest, because there's no such person on this earth. I'll take information from anybody at any given time and use it, you know, to further my career. And having a guy on my team like that was a great asset for me.
Hi, I'm Dave Smart. Today I'd like to cover some of the do's and don'ts of properly fitting a hand. Realizing there are many different techniques used in getting the proper grip, I'd like to show you my professional methods. Today I have with me PBA bowling great David Ozio. How you doing, Dave?
Dave, I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be here to be able to help out any way I can. What are your objectives today? What are we going to cover?
Well, we're going to start off by covering the basic conventional grip, which is best for the lower average bowlers, and then get into the fingertip grip, which is for the more advanced, the players that want to begin to learn about getting revolutions on the ball and creating a hook.
For the lower average bowler, what is the most important thing about the grip that they should know in order to allow them to bowl on a day-in, day-out basis?
Well, I think the most important part of the grip is for it to be comfortable in their hand and to teach them that you really don't have to squeeze the ball. If the ball fits properly, there's no need to put any pressure with your hands to grip the ball.
And how do you achieve that
well,
on this fit-up ball?
It's selecting the proper hole sizes and checking the flexibility of the individual's hand for the proper pitches. If they have a real stiff hand that's not very flexible, you'd want to use more reverse pitches. On the other hand, if their hand's very flexible, we could put the ball, eliminating the need for them to have...
Me on this right here in the conventional grip, show me how it works.
Let's start off with the conventional. we're going to get your thumb size first. It's a little snug. One thing to remember, it's always important to drill the hole smaller rather than bigger, because you can always take material out of the thumb hole. If the hole's too big, that's going to make the player want to squeeze the ball, and that's the last one you want to see. This one's a little looser, so let's go with the 1 1/64. Remember your thumb size. So it's probably been a while since you've had a conventional grip, so.
Quite a while, I might add.
Now, that one's a little bit too loose also.
Now, what is the judging point here to know how a proper fit is?
In fitting a conventional grip, you want the hole to go to the second crease of the fingers, like this. This hole is a little too tight for this finger, but again, it's always best to drill it tighter and then work out the outer edges of the hole. That's your ring finger. Let's check the middle finger. Again, we're going to go to the second crease. Size is a little too tight. Going to go up one size. That looks about right. You can drill that hole and then bevel the edges a little bit. It should be pretty close.
Is there a standard set of pitches that you use on a conventional grip, or is everybody's hand different based off the structure of their hand?
Right. Well, basically in a conventional grip, you want to use forward pitch. Depending on the flexibility of the thumb, you can go anywhere from 1/8 to 1/4 forward. There are some extremes in some bowlers' hands where you need to use reverse pitch, but it's very rare. So I like to start a bowler off with, in your case, probably about 1/8 forward. And the fingers, generally, I like to use anywhere between 1/4 and 3/8 forward in the fingers for a conventional grip. But again, there are extreme cases. If the fingers have any kind of binding in their joints to where they're not very flexible, you may have to go with 1/8 reverse or even 0. So let's start you off with 1/4 forward in your fingers, and we'll see what that looks like.
Pretty intricate looking piece of machinery here you have.
Yeah, it's pretty helpful. I prefer it just because you can actually set the pitches you want inside the ball, which really gives a bowler a good feel of what he can expect after you drill the ball.
Now this thing sets all the pitches according to what you would normally put in a bowling ball after it was drilled, and so this will allow you to be able to change it based off what my hand is?
Yes, exactly. In other ball fitters, you really don't have the option of moving the holes inside the ball fitter. But again, this gives you an actual idea of what to expect. And we're going to put your hand in this and see how it feels. And if there is any binding or any discomfort, we can make adjustments accordingly. Let's have you lay your thumb inside the ball. And I'm just going to lightly stretch your hand over the top of the finger holes without pulling your thumb out of the thumb hole. That's very important. You never want to overstretch the hand and pull the thumb out. That'll result in a span being too long. Again, our objective here is to have a grip that's very, very comfortable.
And so after I have my hand set on there, you crank it to adjust it to the crease of my finger?
Yeah. My target is to get the crease of your finger over the center of the hole. Now this is helping me in determining a starting point for your span. After you get the person's hand in the ball, if they swing it back and forth and do feel any extra stress or extra pull on the finger holes, you can adjust that with a forward and reverse pitch if you feel like the span is correct. Swing it back and forth and tell me if you feel any extra pull or any extra stress on one finger more than you do the other.
Feels pretty uniform on both, really.
Okay. To double check a proper fit, if you just take a pencil and place it underneath the palm, you should have a minimal resistance when the pencil lays underneath the palm. Now, if a span is too short, let's crank this span down a little bit. We're going to crank this down about 1/4 inch, making the span shorter, and I'll show you what it looks like if the hand is fit too short. As you can see here, there's a much greater gap underneath the palm in between the hand and the ball, and a pencil goes through much too easy. This is a result of the span being too short.
Matter of fact, I can get my finger under there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the last thing you want to see, because if the span's too short, that's going to call for a gripping action in your hand, which is going to result in many problems as such as blisters and calluses and tightening up your arm swing as far as that goes.
Will it affect the tendons? Could all this affect the tendons and the joints of my knuckles?
Anytime you have extra pressure caused by gripping, it can stress the muscles in your hand and the tendons, which down the road can cause great problems. Now I've stretched this out to where this grip is a little bit too long. And as you can see, if I try to put a pencil underneath the palm, it doesn't quite want to go. That's an indicator that the hand is too stretched and you want to shorten the grip. So let's take this back down to the proper fit and see what kind of measurements we came up with. All right, let's say if you lay your hand over the top of the ball again. As you can see, the holes fall directly underneath the middle crease. That's the indicator that the span is correct. So now that we have the holes where we want them, let's check the measurements. Looks like his ring finger is going to be about a 3 3/4 span. And his middle finger is going to be a little bit shorter. I got him about 3 9/16. That's the measurement edge to edge from the finger holes to the thumb hole. Now one final point to check on a grip is the lateral pitches of the finger holes. Many hands you'll find the fingers naturally go to one angle, whether it be to the right or to the left. The accepted standard for lateral pitches is a half left in the middle finger and a half right in the ring finger.
Is there any times when this could be changed, such as, let's say, for example, arthritis in the joints or maybe an injury or an accident to the fingers? Could this change the pitches?
Yeah, most definitely. It's in the rare cases that you'd have a crooked finger or maybe an arthritic finger that's not very flexible, you'd want to change the pitch in the direction the finger goes. For example, if you have a finger that goes more towards the right, change the lateral pitch in the middle finger more towards the right. For example, a half left, you'd want to move the pitch more towards, say, a quarter left, or even 0 in extreme cases.
What's the reason for this? Say, for example, if my finger's tilted over this way, you tilt the hole that way in order for it to fit comfortably on each side, right?
Yes, exactly. Again, we're striving for comfort, and that'll allow the finger to lay in the ball more comfortably.
Sounds good to me. Personally, Dave, I'd like to have a ball that's fit more out to the end knuckle here, out to this crease right here. The advanced bowlers like to have it out there. It gives more rotation on the ball. How do you go about setting me up for that?
Yeah, well, you're referring to the fingertip grip, which is for the more advanced bowlers. And the way we do this, we go through the same process basically as a conventional grip with a few minor changes. So let's take you through it.
Now you'll have to change all the... We'll have to go with different finger sizes and thumb... Well, some thumb size will stay the same, but the finger sizes will just fit those to the ends of my fingers, right?
Yes, exactly. We'll leave the thumb the way it is, but we'll have to go smaller in the fingers simply because the fingers aren't going as far into the ball.
What's the proper way this should fit, Dave? Should the finger be more loose, more tight?
Well, I think you want right in between, but it's always better to have the hole tighter than looser.
Especially in the fit-up process?
Yes, because you can always take material out of the hole if it's too tight. But if you drill the hole too big, it's not real easy to put material back in the ball. This is your middle finger. You can see it's just comfortably fits right to the first crease. That's what we're looking for. This hole will take just some moderate sanding and it should be pretty close to the right size.
So now we go through the same procedure and I'll put my thumb in the ball and lay the fingers over and you'll crank it out?
Right. Well, basically, as far as pitches go, the thumb pitch is going to be greatly different than in a conventional ball, strictly because it's a longer span, and for your thumb to clear easier, you're gonna have to have more reverse pitch.
And that goes because the span's longer, so there's a greater distance, so the thumb has to be tilted back more in order for it to come out easier?
Right. And this varies greatly from bowler to bowler. Again, you need to read the player's hand and make adjustments from there. Now, in checking the pitches for the finger, you want to check the flexibility around the first joint. If they have a flexible finger, that would allow you to put more forward pitch in the ball. And the stiffer their finger is, or the less flexible it is, you want to go with more reverse. Now, Dave's ring finger is not quite as flexible as his middle finger. So I'm going to start him off with an 1/8 reverse in his ring. We're going to go with 0 in his middle finger. Cranking the holes to an 1/8 reverse in the ring.
This won't have any kind of effect on the way that I throw it, being as the holes are pitched differently. Does this have any roll effect on the ball?
No, again, we're looking for comfort, and if one finger is stiffer than the other, we don't want to put any more tension in that finger by excessive forward pitch or excessive reverse pitch.
So what you're saying is the basic gist of all this is the fact that the most important thing about fitting a ball is the comfort of the ball and not what the pitches will allow you to do to the ball. Is it more important to have the comfort versus, let's say, setting a pitch to increase the rotation or something like that?
Well, I'm one to believe that the grip is strictly for comfort. I'm not a big fan of changing pitches to alter a bowler's release. It's strictly for comfort, eliminating any calluses or any blisters, and eliminating the need to squeeze the ball. So changing pitches for release, I highly do not recommend. If you recall, in the conventional grip, we had David at an 1/8 forward pitch in the thumb hole. Now that we're going to a fingertip grip, we'll have to increase the reverse pitch. We're going to start him off about 3/8 reverse.
What shows how much reverse you're supposed to use in this? What is your guidelines?
It's all in the flexibility of the thumb and the distance between the finger holes and the thumb hole. The longer the span is, it calls for more reverse.
Okay, good.
The shorter the span, the more forward pitch.
Okay, well, what about the side pitches then as far as the thumb, whether I need left pitch or right pitch? How do you figure that out?
This is determined by how flat your thumb can lay in your palm. If you have a very bound or a tight thumb, it's going to call from anywhere between 1/4 left and 0 lateral pitch. Now, on the other hand, as you can see, your left hand is very flexible. I'd start off the pitch anywhere between a 0 and 1/4 right. The more flexible your thumb is, the more right pitch you want to use. The more bound or the tighter your thumb is, the more left lateral pitch you want to use.
Do you think this is caused by all this excess meat right in here or just built up muscle in here from bowling a lot of years?
Yeah, it's the meat in your hand and also the flexibility of your joint where your thumb meets the base of your palm. It appears to me it'd be best to start you off with right around a 0 lateral pitch. And we'll see how that feels in the ball, and we'll make adjustments accordingly. Okay, let's lay your thumb on the ball and see if we can determine the span. Again, you want the thumb to be all the way in the thumb hole. Just lightly stretch the hand over the top of the finger holes. Now we're looking to get the first crease of the fingers across the center of the finger holes. You can see we've marked the top crease of the finger holes with a blue ink pen. Looks like we have the middle finger directly over the center of the hole. We're going to move the ring finger. It's a little shorter. Looks pretty close. Let's see how that feels. Again, you want to put the fingers all the way into the first crease and then bury the thumb all the way into the bottom of the hole. Swing that back and forth.
Now, is your thumb supposed to exit cleanly, or will you have any kind of drag on a fit-up ball, or?
Well, there should be minimal drag, but if you start out with approximate correct reverse pitch, you can make small alterations with the bevel of the thumb hole.
That feels good. The span feels good. The finger pressure feels good. I feel a little bit too much pressure over here on this side of my thumb.
That's an indicator that we have too much right pitch. So what we're going to do is take this lateral pitch, adding an 1/8 more left. Okay?
Ah, that's perfect. See, I don't feel it on either side now. It
Yeah,
feels equal, and it feels equal in the front, too. So overall, that feels real good.
Okay, this looks like a pretty good fit. As a final check, we're going to use the pencil trick. Place your hand in there. Again, we want the pencil to just lie comfortably underneath the palm, not having to use too much pressure to get it under there. It looks pretty good. All right, let's measure and see what we got.
This ball fits good.
It's like on his ring finger, got a span of 4 13/16. And the middle finger, span of 4 3/4. So that would be David Ozio's proper fit for a fingertip ball. I have noted here the specs for David Ozio for a fingertip grip. Notice the bridge of 1/4 inch. This is a standard number I use for conventional and fingertip grips. Although if you use finger inserts in a fingertip ball, use an 1/8 inch bridge. The only time this would change is when you have extreme lateral pitches that run together at the bottom of the finger holes. Let's discuss this more.
Okay, Dave, as far as the the lateral pitches on the finger. Is the rule of thumb the same with the fingertip ball as with the conventional? We used before a standard half-half pitch. As far as the fingertip, would that hold true?
Yes, I think in the fingertip it's much more critical to get the right lateral pitches. As you can see in the conventional ball, the finger is more tapered as you go down to the bottom of the hole. So it's actually looser at the bottom of the hole for a conventional grip. As the fingertip, there's not much of a taper from the top crease down to the tip of the finger. So it's very critical that you pitch the fingers according to the direction that the fingers go on the hand.
This will allow the finger to fit in there more properly and not rub on one side or another?
Right. As you can see, the fingertip on your middle finger angles more to the right, so we'd have to change the pitch accordingly. Less left pitch or more right pitch, if you will. In the ring finger, again, it looks pretty straight, so we could get away with probably a half lateral right pitch on the ring finger. As you can see here, I've given David an 1/8 left in the middle finger and a half right lateral pitch in the ring finger. This grip will lie comfortably in his hand and he won't have to squeeze the ball. Let's hear David talk more about squeezing.
The end result of this grip here, obtaining the perfect grip, is to allow me not to squeeze the ball. Squeezing is probably the worst thing that can happen. As far as a touring player bowling on a week-to-week basis, squeezing the ball can cause a lot of excess problems. Pulling on the tendons, additional callousing, places that I really don't need it, swelling of the knuckles. All of these are byproducts of a poorly fitted ball. Whenever we come in and come to a pro shop and to get something fit, or either Dave on the road helps us with this, we look for a fit that will make my hand relax as much as possible. Bowling 100 to 150 games a week will tax the hand quite heavily, so it's up to me to be able to get that fit set just properly in order that I can do my job out there to repeat shots and to be able to score as high as I possibly can. The one thing I don't need is excess hand problems, so that's why we turn to Dave here in order to get us set in the proper grip that will allow me to be able to perform. Yeah, and I think, again, the key to bowling is repetition. And the less muscles you use in bowling, the more easy it is to repeat a shot. So the better the ball fits, the less you have to squeeze the ball. That'll eliminate all the muscles, making it easier to repeat shot after shot after shot. And at the pro level especially, it's very crucial that they have a ball fitting properly so they can compete with the best bowlers in the world. Through my travels across the country and the world, I've had the opportunity to visit many pro shops. And it seems the majority of their questions aren't on exactly how to fit a ball, but to fix the problems when a customer comes in with a ball that isn't quite right. Whether it be a pitch change or a span change, we're going to address these problems later in our section of troubleshooting. Dave, thanks for coming. Good luck on tour. I'm glad you can make it. Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
We're going to start off with some problems a bowler might have, such as unwanted calluses or blisters on the tips of their fingers, or maybe on the left side of the thumb, or possibly on the back of their thumb. So let's start with the fingertips first. Notice in this graphic, the calloused or blistered areas are indicated in red on the finger. This is a result of there being too much forward pitch in the finger hole. The proper adjustment is indicated in a dotted red line. More reverse pitch is needed. If blisters or bruises appear on the pads of your fingers, this is an indication that there's too much forward pitch in the fingers or possibly too long of span. The proper adjustment would be to subtract between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch in the span, or maybe adding an 1/8 inch reverse in the finger pitch. In this graphic, the pitch, indicated by the black holes, is too much to the left. The proper adjustment would be to add more right pitch to these finger holes. As noted by the red areas of the fingers, this is where the calluses or blisters would be if the hole had too much left pitch. In this graphic, this ball has too much right pitch. The proper adjustment would be more left pitch. It is very important to notice where the rubbing or calluses are on the finger, whether it be at the top edge by the crease or near the tips. Now let's go to the thumb. In this graphic, this thumb hole has too much right pitch, as indicated by the calluses and blisters on the left side of the thumb. In this case, the proper adjustment would be more left pitch. We're pitching towards the pane. Now in this graphic, the blister is on the right side of the thumb. This is a result of there being too much left pitch. The proper adjustment would be more right pitch. The blister is on the right side of the thumb. The correction will be more towards the right. And finally, we have the problem most commonly found in most amateur bowlers. It's wear and tear on the back of their thumb. This can be an indicator of many things, possibly the hole being too loose, the span being too long, or maybe not enough forward pitch in the thumb hole. Anytime you have wear and tear on the back of your thumb, it's a result of squeezing the ball. So you must make the proper adjustments so the bowler can relax their hand in the ball. You may experience similar problems on the inside of the thumb near the base. This is a result of there being too much forward pitch in the thumb hole or the span being too long. The proper adjustment would be more reverse pitch or shortening the span, possibly a 1/16 of an inch. I hope this video has been helpful in giving you a better understanding of how to fit a ball and to help better serve your customers in the future. And remember, the proper fit of a ball is the most important aspect of their game. If you can fit their hand properly and improve their game, that customer will come back again and again. I'm Dave Smart for Columbia 300.
Columbia owns the world over.